Knock, knock.
Yeah, come in.
Oh, thank you. George, I
Yeah,
have
yeah, Richard.
I have a few ideas about this film, Revenge of the Jedi.
Actually, I'm thinking that we're probably going to call it Return of the Jedi now.
Uh, all right. That was my first two ideas out the window. All right. Well, here's my next one. Um, so Chewbacca, I want him to, when he swings from a vine, to make a merman sound, like a
Oh, I think
merman.
it would probably be funnier if he made like a Tarzan noise there. So that's
Ugh.
what we'll do.
Well, who is this for? Is this for children? Or for grown
Yeah,
men like me who want to see a merman?
I think it's pretty much for children and also for uh,
Er,
yeah. Who's there?
Yes, just a question. How long will I be wearing the bikini for in the film?
I kind of want to see you sit on the big fat slug guy and get slime dripped all over your nubile body.
All right, I'm gonna need to be making more than Han, so that's all I'll say about that.
you know,
And there we have it.
What? No, unseen. I had a button for it, and it's gone. I demand to be heard, or my name isn't Richard Marquand.
Oh, Richard.
No, I got nothing. It's alright, it wasn't that good. And scene.
And we're played out by the music. And that mess
Oh, man.
was a little bit of behind the scenes on Return of the Jedi.
Hey guys, it's not our fault UCB closed, am I right?
You think that the little bit that they still have open, they're going to hear this and know that we went to their program and be like,
Yeah.
oh, we're closed. No, that...
It's gonna shut them down for good after
Yeah.
this.
Whoops.
Welcome to Jedivangelists 3 Return of the Jedi.
That's all. The whole episode. Oh yeah.
So-
Ryan, be honest, whose is better?
Grar.
Let me hear some.
Grar.
I'm gonna have to go with Joanna on this one.
Ugh. Who let a girl on the Star Wars podcast?
Joanna, as our typical Godzilla, or that's not what we're talking about today. As our typical Star Wars newbie,
Get that monster out of here, Ryan.
what are your general, non-specific thoughts on
My
Return
general
of the Jedi?
non-specific thoughts are, wow, why had no one told me anything about this film in the past 28 years of my life? So I don't know, are Sam and I fighting yet, or should we get a little intro going first? I just feel like
So what you're saying is that you really liked it.
yeah, I loved it.
So you didn't know anything about this? This was all new to you?
I knew nothing to the point where I knew nothing about the little bears, which I was like, okay. I knew nothing about C-3PO fucking being a leading role in the first 20 minutes of the film. I knew Jabba would arrive at some point. I had no thoughts that it would be at the very beginning. And most importantly, I had no idea how the last 20 minutes of the film went, and felt actual suspense watching it. Like, what's gonna happen?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a miracle you've gone. Like, it seems like it's all so zeitgeisty that I'm amazed that you could have this experience. Like, I'm like flabbergasted.
Like,
It's amazing.
I was literally like, this can't end well for Luke. Like, that was my thought. I was like, there's no way. And I have, some thoughts on the ending, but we can get there when we get there. But yeah, in general, I just had like a ball of a time. Is that a phrase?
That's fantastic.
But that's how I felt.
It's sort of a phrase.
What about you two?
And I agree. This is. I'm sure we'll get into the weeds of this on some point, but although I think technically the first Star Wars is a more well-made film, I think this is more fun than the first movie.
Yeah.
I think it has higher highlights and lower lowlights, but it evens out to me to liking it the second most of the trilogy.
What is your first one?
Empire. Empire is just so good.
So
Is that the middle one or the first one?
Yes, the middle one.
What? No way.
So wait, the middle one isn't the one with the little bears.
No, it's the one with the big bear.
The big, yeah. Well, so if we're all just sharing our thoughts on them, well, actually, before I do that, so Ryan, this is your number 2 in your heart rankings.
In my heart, yeah.
Interesting.
Guys, I gotta be honest, episode 1 or wherever Darth Maul is first introduced will always be my number 1, and also because young Obi-Wan is like hot as fuck when I was 12, you know, but like sure, this one can hold a fun place in my heart.
I think we have to do, I know there was debate amongst the evangelists as to whether we would do the prequels, and I think we have to, just to see if Joanna still likes that one.
Yeah.
Like, because
Again,
well,
guys,
I have
for Easter, I got that double-sided lightsaber, that dark.
Yeah.
For Easter, as a 12-year-old. Okay, so it's like, what? We gotta rewatch that. We gotta take another closer look.
Well, I had an inflatable chair with Darth Maul's face on it, but it didn't make watching the first one any more painful than when Natalia and I did it a couple weeks ago. But I'll do it for you guys. I'll watch it.
Bless you.
Wait,
Sam, your thoughts on the film? Because I think we're gonna fight
on
about this one.
Let's
Return of the Jedi.
keep on Return.
So rewatching it was fun because my opinions always vary a little bit each time. I kind of come back to these every like 5 years. I think it is not as good as the previous two, and I think that there's a clear delineation to me in how much I enjoy it and how much it compares in just movie making. I still think it's fun, and I actually think it benefits from its best stretch being the last 25 minutes. I think all the throne room stuff with the Emperor and Luke and Darth Vader is all really good. So, like I think it's good. I actually think this sounds like not a crazy thing to say, but I've had a lot of debates recently with people who have now that they've seen the newest Star Wars, they want to debate the all-time rankings of all of them, and I still think this is number 3. I still think the original trilogy, all 3 of them are better than anything else, but I do think the first 2 are a lot better.
I'm not that far off from you. I just think they're a little better as opposed to a lot better.
Guys, I think for real, for me, a huge difference was that Mark Hamill just got like fucking tired. Life hit him. I don't know what happened.
Well, something hit him.
He was no longer like, oh my god, and I gotta like, this was no longer his energy of acting. His energy of acting was like, Leia, I can't tell you, but something's going on, and it just like that made the movie millions of light years better for me, you know. Just the fact that he was like, actually someone told him like, Mark, stand on your mark and stand on your own 2 feet and just say the lines, like just say the lines, no rush him, you know. I was like, oh, I can actually see this guy as kind of the lead of a film, which I hadn't before.
Okay. I can, even though I'm not as harsh on him, especially in Empire, but I see what you're coming from. He's basically like playing a different character.
Yeah,
almost.
he's very,
very
you know me, Ryan, coming from an actor perspective on things.
Yeah.
Like, it did make a difference. I was like, oh, he's actually, now doing the thing.
Well, his personality changed when he took Yoda for like 3 backpack rides in the span of 2 days. You become a different guy.
But I mean, that's something that I feel like is a strength with both of these sequels, is that the characters keep, well, let me back that up a little bit. At least Luke keeps advancing through all 3 movies. He's always developing, always becoming a different person, and that's not easy to do. So I give them a lot of credit for giving him a really complete arc.
Yeah, the rest, I don't know. Han, I mean,
his
do
we
acting,
want to just
his
do a
acting has
character
gotten
rundown?
worse, I would argue. Like, his acting in this film is just like reaction shots of him being like, what? Leia's like, I'm Luke's sister, and he's like, what? what?
Oh, no, I liked that.
It's like only
No.
half.
You know what's funny is I actually I loved that his like pantomiming of like putting it all together, and then like I still think Harrison's in a league of his own of the three. I like he doesn't have a lot to do in the movie,
Right.
but he as an actor, I still like. It's so funny for all of your defense of Mark Hamill, and I do agree. I think he gets better, and I think the character gets more interesting, but like it still felt like once like that last throne room scene, an example of a good scene, I still think he's outclassed by the like it's like James Earl Jones and whoever that plays the Emperor, who's like awesome and
That's
can
what
really
I was
Oh
gonna
yeah,
say.
we'll come back to the Emperor in a second.
He is just he's fucking Obi-Waning the shit out of everyone in this film. He's just fucking, and he's British. I looked him up. I'm like, classic. He's British. He's better than everyone. Like, he's fascinating. I would watch him for 2 hours straight.
Well, you might get your chance. No spoilers. Well, but anyway, to come back to Harrison, yeah, he has absolutely nothing to do. His arc was essentially over in the last movie, so we get like the tiniest button, like a little bit of like conclusion right at the top, and then he's just like along for the ride. And then Carrie Fisher, she has a little more to do than
Less so,
Then
though, I would
Han.
say. That
Oh, I'd say a lot more to do. Yeah.
a lot more to see.
Oh, why? How is it that my dirtbag guy is less like disgusting?
Because I mean, and we're going to come to this later, my id is Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah. All right. Well,
But
bye everyone.
I'll try mine. Yeah. I don't know. Did I succeed?
Oh,
Sorta.
it being a gross dude.
I can't believe she fucking killed him with those chains, and that after that, before they left the area, she wasn't like, let me just put my cloth clothing on.
I don't think he had it just like in a cubby nearby.
She's like, let me run to the locker room real quick.
It's funny, when I was a kid, because the last time we see her in her bounty hunter disguise, he's like holding her up and licking her. For some reason as a kid, I thought he ate her clothes, and that was just like her normal underwear.
That Chinese stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, with like the floor length loincloth. And we'll talk about Lando for a hot second, because there's not much to talk about.
Bow chicka bow bow. All I ever have to say about Lando.
He is a handsome man. He gets to drive the Millennium Falcon with Nien Nunb, whose face looks like a stack of pancakes.
Really does.
Joanna, what do you think what Lando would look like if Jabba ate his clothes?
You know, maybe not as good as I would hope, which would be a bummer. Here's the thing about Lando.
Random slam on Billy D.
I'm
Williams.
just kidding.
That's so confusing. That's like a very pessimistic way of looking at someone you're mildly attracted to.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mildly.
yes, but I
I'm just
suppose
kidding.
they're probably more disgusting in ways I can't imagine.
Okay, here's the thing. Is every Star Wars movie, the central plot of it, the same? And because is the central plot of this film the same as the central plot or like end game of the first one, of you got a big ship, you got to get past the barrier of the big ship with the tiny ship, get that tiny ship into the middle of the big ship, blow something up, and we're all good. Like, I have not seen the dark side expand their rule beyond these so-called Death Stars, you know? It's all about the ships. That's all I know about them.
Yeah. And that is one of the things I like least about this. And it wasn't always going to be that way. It's a huge Star Wars problem. Like, without any spoilers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 9 movies have the same ending.
Jesus. And it's like they have a whole universe to play with, and they just keep getting
Yeah.
stuck. Like,
Well-
you gotta get this tiny ship and this big ship, and then that's gonna be great for all of us on the good side.
I'm gonna piss so many people off right now. This is a Star Wars fandom problem, though, is that I think I think that, and maybe not like all fans, but like a large quotient of them really don't like anything that strays in any way from the things that they basically learned to seem Star Warsy when they were young. And so
Yeah.
I think that's part of why they keep going to the well of like, well, fans are going to be pissed unless we do another Death Star. Because, I mean, like, prime example is, like, one of the 3 new trilogy movies did some things that were, like, I wouldn't even argue is, like, so crazy different, but just, like, a little outside the realm of what other ones had done, and people were very furious, were very, very mad about it.
Really?
So, yeah, and if you think I'm speaking out of turn here, fans, come and fight me.
Come fight him on those
They will.
Apple reviews.
Actually, we have yet to get a single comment on the Star Wars episodes, so I still don't officially know what people think of them.
Well, maybe no one has listened.
Yeah, because nobody really cares about Star Wars. Everyone's here for Godzilla.
There are really cool books called, like, The Making of Star Wars, Making of Empire, blah, blah, blah. So the Empire one has, like, a whole giant chapter that's, like, just notes from the story conferences for Return of the Jedi. And it's really interesting and so unflattering to George Lucas. I wonder why they allowed it to be published.
Really? How
because,
so?
like,
Give me the dirt.
like Lawrence Kasdan, who's the co-writer, and Howard, he's got an Armenian name. I'm sorry, I'm stupid and white. I can't pronounce it. Kazjanzian, something like that. And the director, Richard Marquand. And they're all throwing out interesting, like, different ideas. And he, like, shoots down every one of them and puts something worse in its place. Like, Lawrence Kasdan, like, we can't do the Death Star again. Like, George, this is a terrible idea. But he, like, kept insisting that they had to do another Death Star ending. And they had, like, more interesting things for the characters to do. Like, Leia was going to be separate from the others at the beginning of the movie. She was going to be, like, on a mission and having to worry about, like, if they were okay while she was, like, leading her own thing. And Han was going to die pretty early in the movie, so it could, like,
yeah.
you know, he wouldn't just be standing
Non-Disney
around.
shit, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, Lawrence Kasdan at one point was pushing so hard to die that George Lucas, like, basically threw a passive-aggressive tantrum, and he acted out a sarcastic ending where Luke put on the Darth Vader mask and destroyed the Rebel fleet. And Lawrence Kasdan was like, well, you're getting closer. And George was like, no, I was being silly. This is for kids. We don't want to upset them.
Is it for kids? Really?
That's what he came to feel.
I
But
feel that.
Yeah, I mean, parts of it, sure.
I mean, I think in a lot of ways, I feel like this is the one. And when we say for kids, I think it's for kids in the way that the kinds of stuff that George's generation watched as kids. But I really feel that. This is the first one that feels like a kid's movie in a weird way to me.
I mean, all the Ewoks.
Well, certainly that. I mean, even, like, you know, it's so funny, like, so much of the kind of adventure it is feels a little like, you know, like the exploring the jungle, and then the tribe finds you, and then, oh, but one of them, you know, you as their god, like, all feels kind of like pulpy, kind of like kids adventure
like
stuff.
very old fashioned.
Yeah, and then, you know, then there's of course the stuff like the Tarzan yell. You know, I mean, there are moments. It's like I feel it, and even it's so funny, like the Jabba's palace stuff, which, like, aesthetically I really love and always remembered being awesome. On this watch, I mean, Jabba's great, and there's a lot to like, and it's super cool. But, like, it's a little weird. It's like a weird 40-minute thing, like, sequence, I guess, where just more and more characters just keep showing up at his doorstep. Like, it felt weirder to me than it ever did before.
He seems like he has a way bigger place than he should, I guess.
But he's the biggest crime lord in the galaxy.
Sure.
Of course he has a giant place.
Also, guys,
But,
I forever will love the jazzy music they're always playing. Anytime they go to any of these places, it's always like, it's like so swanky.
Can we play? So you watched the original version, right?
I watched whatever was on Disney Plus.
Oh,
Okay, so you actually watched the embarrassing version and you still
well, no,
watched
she
it.
loves it.
So I wonder if you'll here. I'm gonna play the original because I love the original.
So just as
And go ahead.
this is some background for Joanna. So this is a class, like maybe the second most infamous instance of re-editing of a scene in the special editions of Star Wars, which are now the only versions you can get legally. And so in the original, the kind of like musical interlude scene was very different. And then in the 90s, George put a bunch of CG stuff, which was the one you saw with the song and dance number and the CG aliens.
Yeah, and a different Anakin at the end because I researched that.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
who's this hunk?
And to be fair, as a child, I repeatedly watched the special edition sequence over and over again. I loved it as a kid. So it worked as George intended.
Yeah.
It did.
He got the kids excited. But this, go ahead and watch the stream I just brought up on Discord. And this is the original, which is sort of like a cool disco punk crossover. So I guess I like this one because it's like scuzzier, and because I think it's interesting to like expand the idea of like what is music in this universe, and like apparently disco punk is a thing, and I'm all about it. Plus, it's a little bit shorter, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. IMO. But no matter what, I always have a fond spot in my heart for the Max Rebo band.
Yeah, I feel like I would catch them anytime, anywhere.
Another change that I like, it's like the one change I really liked that he did was in the original version, the ending has this like fun but cheesy song that literally goes like yum nump, icha nub nump, and it's like the Ewoks singing, and it sounds kind of like a Christmas song, and then there's like literally looks like a family portrait at the end.
That's what it looked like in the one I saw.
I guess the very ending's still the same, but there's like a more introspective kind of subtler song, and we get to see like all the people around the galaxy celebrating. I kind of like that better.
Yeah, it's like a little slower, a little. My favorite is when the Ewok that has a crush on R2D2 leans in against him.
That is cute.
That is like my favorite part of the film. The whole saga of the crush on R2D2.
My favorite, well, actually I have a couple favorite bits with the Ewoks for two different reasons. I always find it really cute when C-3PO is telling the Ewoks the story of everything they've done with the sound effects, just like you guys. And then it also like it genuinely makes me sad, like I tear up a little bit in the scene where the one Ewok gets shot and killed and the other one's like trying to wake him up. Like, oh, my heart. Sam, are you still with us?
Yeah, I am, but it's also
Okay.
This is the Ewok portion of the podcast, so I kind of zone out a little bit.
No, but Sam, this is what we want to hear your opinion. Now Ryan and I are like, Ryan, what's your favorite cute little Ewok moment?
Like I don't. Here's the thing. It's popular to hate. It's like popular to hate the Ewoks and be like, they suck. They're for kids. They're too cute. Bleh. And then there's also the like, no, I defend the Ewoks. And what I'll say is, them themselves, I really don't have that much of an opinion either way. I don't like. The big problem for me is that it's such a long, like water tready section of the movie, and it's like it's them, I guess, to get to shut down the shield generator, and like everything else is just kind of like stuff happening and getting in the way, but it's not like that whole middle, I don't know, at least an hour of the movie is really flat, and then it has some set pieces like the speeder bike chase and stuff that are cool, but like I just have a hard time every time with this movie. That whole middle part of the movie really loses me.
I will somewhat or even mostly back you up here. This is the biggest problem with this movie is the second act rough. I feel like dull might be a little too strong, but it's pretty lukewarm and not particularly interesting.
I'd say it's more Han-warm.
Apart from, like you said, a couple good like set pieces. So like the stretch from where we leave Tatooine until Luke gets captured is all not really up to snuff.
See, and I think part of my viewing experience may have been different, because for me it was like literally the last 20 minutes, and also like this section of it had never heard word of. So there was kind of this surprise and delight element with just like the cuteness and you know what I mean? I was like, what? Like, I literally out loud, I kept being like, what is happening? But like, it was enjoyable for me because I had never seen it before. And I was like, sure, what the fuck? I mean, why not? You know, I was like, oh my God, who's this cute? And bears are my favorite animal, you know? So I was just kind of like down to clown with them. But it definitely, like, watching it again, yes, from an objective film standpoint, I think I would probably be like, but for the surprise and delight cuteness factor, I was definitely there for it. And I fucking love C-3PO. C-3PO fucking is my spirit animal. And in the first 30 minutes of the film, I was like, wow, this guy's getting a lot of one-liners, and I love it. And that whole section with him, I was like, more of him, yes. So I think
I do like... Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I do like that he gets so mistreated in the last movie, and then in this movie, he becomes a god. That's great.
Right.
And
he even gets his revenge on Han, where he's like, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to impersonate a deity. And meanwhile, Han's about to be cooked alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But, like, from an objective, like, plot point standpoint, I think after the first one and Mark Hamill's acting, I was like, okay, so these are cinema or like pop culture gold, but you know, objectively, I don't know how brilliant or fascinatingly beyond they are. Not to offend anyone, but you know.
That's opening a whole other can of worms, because Sam and I have debated this so many times, which is like how... And I don't actually think we're that far apart on it, but it's just like one of those nerdy arguments we keep having where I feel like this is an example of like brilliant storytelling, not from the perspective of like getting deep within a character, but in terms of telling like a monomyth story. And I think that's worth something just as much as like a great story that really brings you inside a character.
Like, I get it, they were fun, and there's an aspect of like the whole, you know, everyone getting behind them, the thrill of it, kind of like Harry Potter, you know what I mean? Like when him and Darth Vader had that, when Darth Vader was like, he's here, I was like, this is Harry Potter. It's fucking Voldemort and Harry Potter. And I get that kind of the cultural moment sweeping things up adds to the nostalgia and all of it. But yeah,
I think it goes beyond that though. I think that there's a cultural echo to it. And I'll say this, I think that it's had to face up to over time that it's kind of a white male cultural thing, right? That it has more of that echo for someone like me than, you know, the further away you get from someone like me. But I still think that it ties back to like, you know, thousands of years of mythology in these really smart and well done ways, and I think that there's a true significance to that.
No, yeah.
Again, I was like emotionally attacked. You know, the last 15 minutes, I was like, it's gonna happen. But yeah, Sam, you share your thoughts.
No, I mean the argument we've had. I mean, like, I'm like, I wouldn't be an idiot and go and be like, Star Wars isn't an important movie or isn't a good movie. I mean, I have slightly different arguments with this one than with the original. Yeah. You know, because there are slightly different things I can say. You know, there are more criticisms to have here, and like, you know, I would say that, Joanna, you're feeling that like, oh well, it's not like these are high art filmmaking. I agree. There's a little, but I think that there's a little bit, even like basic craft, kind of like simple craft stuff in the original that is missing here. Like this one, the first one isn't meandery ever, and this one is. It would be the difference I would point out. But But yeah, I mean, like, look, I think I said it on the first one, but to me they're like a good student that had, you know, solid B pluses in a lot of their classes, but did like every extracurricular, and like, and I feel like that's like the prime example of what I'd say is like, it's all pretty good, and it also happens to touch on a lot of things. Well, all the, you know, again, music and sound, and, you know, in terms of just analyzing the film, music, sound, visual effects, art direction are all like absolute A plus, the best. And then I think that they also struck a nerve for various reasons. And I don't entirely know what they are, but I would just say, like, I think if you try to break them down as like, does this, you know, screenwriting compared to network? It's like, well, no, like, it's not this, you know, it's extremely simple, you know, it's not high, like, it, you know, it's fine, like, it's fine, the acting is all like fine, but like,
Yeah.
you know, I wouldn't say that like it's all nostalgia, or like, oh, it's not actually, it's like the Goonies. It's like, no, Star Wars is doing something different than the Goonies did. Now I'm gonna get a lot of Goonies hate, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes,
So
it's following it's effective in this kind of top line formula that we know. It's like effective in the way of executing it, but I think that's like the accurate way of saying, like, the storytelling isn't anything supremely nuanced, the acting isn't anything extremely phenomenal.
And I'm still figuring out how to articulate this after this being a thought of mine for a stupid number of years. But I feel as if there's more than one kind of great storytelling. And I feel like, not to make anyone sound bad, but I can't think of the right words because it's late. I think there's a kind of cultural snobbery to say there's only one kind of great storytelling, and it's the, as you put it, Sam, the network kind of storytelling.
Yeah, well, I kind of slightly disagree with you here, because I think that I don't think that can be there can be more than one kind of good storytelling argument. I think can be used as an excuse for something being not as good of storytelling. So there's that. But like, I think that the things the things that caught on and capture imagination about Star Wars and make them stay are kind of like, again, I kind of say extracurriculars in that, like, I think that it's the world for sure. I mean, it's like there's this world that it's created that, like, that through art direction, through writing, through art direction, through so many things, and a lot of things that probably were a little bit by chance, like, that they happen. You know, it's like there are a million ways that this could have gone wrong and not all just kind of clicked in the way it did. And then I also think that there's a little bit of kind of like I'm trying to think of the word now, like a cultural archaeologist thing that it's doing, where it's basically repackaging a bunch of kinds of things that people liked and has kind of combined them into one thing. So it's like, you know, it's tapping into the kind of adventure stories that little white boys like George Lucas and people, everyone, like a lot of people really enjoyed when they were young, and you see them. And so it's like, when I point out, like, oh, like, it seems like they repackaged this kind of adventure movie in Return of the Jedi, well, it's like, well, that's what all these movies have done. I mean, they've taken samurai movies and they've taken westerns, and he's just kind of, and he's then put them in space, and it's like that's something really cool in and of itself. And I think that has a huge amount to do with why it's stayed. And I actually think a lot of the biggest movies ever have that kind of quality, as opposed to being network good. I love that network is our
like
movie.
Avatar.
Yeah, Avatar is honestly, I think Avatar has a lot of that same kind of thing.
Totally. It's like, it's a new world. The story is not anything super unique or different.
See, I feel like that's an insulting comparison, though, because Avatar already has none of the cultural cachet.
It doesn't have the same.
Sure, but like me coming into this totally new, like, there are so many moments in the film, right? And again, I enjoyed this one. I had a fucking fun time watching it. I was like hooked at the end. I was speaking out loud to it. But like, there were so many moments in the film where I was like, oh, really? And I was like, oh, well, it's Star Wars. So, you know what I mean? Like, so many little moments, like corny lines and interactions between the character. I literally would be characters. I'd be like, well, that's George for you know, but it's Star Wars, so it's good. And it's like, no, some of it really isn't. Like, some of the writing, some of it, the acting, really isn't good. But like, it's caught up in this bigger thing. I guess if it came out, I guess it's like some of the films that come out now, people are like disappointed in them, the Star Wars ones, and there are parts of these where I'm like, I don't know if they might feel the same way if these things came out now, but they didn't. They came out in the 70s and years and years and years ago, before many things in film happened.
Yeah, and honestly, not to like to George and the team's credit, I think this kind of movie wouldn't be made now, because this is the big thing that I've kind of felt is it's still, it still takes swings. These are all still like having a puppet, like an old puppet man who is the wisest of them all, like just I feel like just isn't the kind of thing that works so well and really like pushes the movie into another stratosphere, is like that kind of stuff. I don't think that people take swings like that, individual movies take swings like that anymore, and there's definitely, I mean, the first movie was like a passion project that one crazy guy was like, hey, we got to do this, and nobody kind of thought it would be good. So I, like, this isn't to say that it's like, oh, it played it safe. I think they are really, like, I think that they are really good, and I think they are good stories. I stand by my, like, it's a very nuanced difference, but it's like I stand by my thought that like they're not, like, in some ways they're not the highest form of like story writing or like screenwriting or storytelling, like as craft, but they are in being effective at conveying excitement and like like an interest. Like I'm sounding like an idiot right now. But I think there's just a key difference.
I don't think so.
They're almost like less a good example of craft, but they do tap into something that is very appealing and interesting, and
well, they're the hero's journey, and it's like, we know that work. You know what I mean? Like, they're not flipping anything about it on its head. They're like just straightforward but we know it's effective. And it is effective.
And there's something to be said for, if you're gonna do something, if you're gonna do something where you're like, all right, well, we're taking things that everyone's liked about westerns and Kurosawa movies and outer space, like, and we're combining them, and we're calling everything Tatooine. It's like they might as well be calling them Bleeblorb and Luke Flingmonger and the Blue Blorps. Like, it's all nonsense words. So at the time, now those all mean something. So it's like there's a little bit to telling a story that is a little more familiar, just so you're not just like throwing nonsense at people from all directions. So I get it. And I still think I can say that and defend the first movie and still have criticisms of this particular movie, bringing it back full circle. Return of the Jedi, not as strong as the other two.
Sure. Well, we got real deep sooner than I thought. So, audience, actually, I'm curious. And I know we covered much more subtle territory than this, but for the snappy question to the audience, are the Star Wars movies special or merely good?
It's so horrible,
right? Or are they good, or are they merely special?
Yeah, that's
I would say.
Yeah,
interesting. Yeah, you can flip it. I see that.
I like that.
Like, are they good, or are they merely special? I don't know. I mean, like, you know what I mean? It's like what Guardians, all this stuff coming out today. I think if they came out now, we'd be like, yeah, okay, sure. Another.
Well, I think.
Or would it be like Mad Max, which is like blows people out of the water? That's the
but
question.
Mad Max is, so here's an interesting differentiation. Mad Max is a craft. The reason that it blew people away, I think, is more of it's a craft movie. It's like, I mean, it's another example of like extraordinarily simple, but I think that it's more that people were blown away by the fact that it's such an impressive movie in technical and creative, obviously, but like as like it's just action filmmaking that's like just absolutely spectacular.
You're not wrong. I didn't mean to open this conversation, though, because we are running out of time, and I wanted to make sure we had more time for fun stuff.
What I'm saying is that if Passengers came out in 1977, it would have been Star Wars.
Good lord.
Okay, wait. Here's one slightly more fun, but not quite, but less like. But I do think it's interesting, and I really would love to hear what people think. You know, people who are tied to Star Wars versus, you know, watching it now or thinking of, if you're watching it now, what your thoughts are. But like, how fucking how do we have all this buildup, and then Darth Vader, you got none on the eyes. Like, what is film? It's like, what's in the eyes? You get none of that, and then suddenly you get no, and he picks up the Dark Lord and just like fucking throws him over a ledge. A, how does he not fight him at that? B, how does he not fight him with some lightsaber action? Like, what a fucking miss of them for not like, I feel like I said this in the second film too, or whatever, like maybe just the later films and watching Pirates of the Caribbean, there's a lot more fun sword fighting shit, but like, do you guys feel that death was earned?
Oh yeah, I think that's one of the best sequences in the movie. Originally it was silent, so he doesn't yell no in the original. It's a silent turn.
He doesn't?
Yeah, so it's really a little more artful.
Yeah.
Okay, that's way better. Fuck these new versions.
Yeah.
I was literally like, this. They placed the no at the wrong time too. Like, they're turning his head too much. It's awful. Okay.
It's pretty
there's
bad.
No.
Yeah,
That helps.
Again, I think this ties into like what people think the Emperor / a Sith / a Dark Jedi should be conflicts with how he's portrayed in this movie. I don't think he has as written, as filmed, I don't think they intended him to have the capacity to like whip out a lightsaber and fight him. I think he is like a frail old man with incredible mental powers. So I think he was like doing everything he could to stop Vader when he gets chucked into the bin.
Because maybe to the no gave him like a heads up of what was happening, and I thought he should have had a move to defend it. If there wasn't a no, maybe, you know.
For sure.
Guys, how much better is Steven Spielberg than George?
He is a much better director.
Because listen, they're both on the wall of some kind of corny building at my school, and it's like, I always was like, oh yeah, they're kind of the same, and now I'm like, they're not the same at all. They're one is far and beyond truly, genuinely gifted human being. The other is kind of like, how'd he get here? I'm kidding.
He's a creative man, but yeah, he's a great producer.
Mm-hmm.
He's like a great idea man. He just needs people to rein him in.
Sam, what did you think of the Dark Lord death? Do you think it's valid? Or earned?
I think it's earned. I think it's I thought that the last 25 minutes or so were the best part of the movie. I do think that it's a little quick. It's like so funny. It's like it did feel a little like I remembered the moment of Vader deciding to do it to be longer, because it is a big turn from the last time we saw him. It's like we've basically seen Luke.
I think the no fucks it up. The no I saw really fucks it up.
For sure.
I believe that, and I mean it's the same thing, the like no that Luke has when he falls down the big the big pit shaft.
Right.
In the last movie before this is also that way, where they added a no, and it makes the scene change from he'd rather kill himself than join the dark side to like, whoops, he slipped, like, oh no. Which is like
you guys, do you think George was just like up at night in his Hollywood Hill home just being like, when I get a chance,
no, I think
gotta add a no back in?
I think he thinks it's more, I think he's making him for kids. Like I truly think that that those are choices that are like, well, yeah, there's a no, because it's, he's trying to stop him, and he's bad now, he's good. Like it feels a little bit, again, I stand by, like, I think it's that he's progressively more making movies for kids as he goes on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Except for
but
Red Tails.
To speak of something positive, do we want to talk about the Emperor, the great Ian McDiarmid, hamming it up like a pro?
Is the best.
He was great. I literally looked him up and looked up his whole life history. And I was like, who's this guy? Oh, he's British. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, what else is he doing? And I was like, fascinating. Yeah, he was fantastic.
It's funny. I think there's like on paper a lot of stuff about that shouldn't work because his like temptations for Luke are so vague. Just like, you'll be more powerful if you join me. Right. And it's like, well, that's not really actually that tempting. It's kind of obvious that you're trying to manipulate me, but he like just sells it so well because of the way he talks and the way he expresses his face and hands.
I wanted more of him. I wanted him to have his own movie.
Again, don't wish for too much.
Oh boy.
Too much of a good thing.
Oh.
I mean, he's always fun to watch, though. I'll give him that.
Is he in the earlier ones?
He is. He's
same actor.
Yeah, same guy.
Okay. I was also like, sick makeup, man.
Yes, that's another very nerdy difference between the original and the special edition, because they kind of had to rush his makeup on certain days. So in some shots in the original, there's like an optical like animation, like cartoon blob like on his face, like a little slug that they changed for the special edition. But anyway.
Wait, I love that. They're like, hey man, you were supposed to arrive at 4 a.m. for the cake makeup and you arrived at 4:45, so now we gotta animate shit in.
That's always how it works.
Fucking actors, am I right?
I know. Losers. But speaking of somebody who's not a loser because he's not an actor, he's a puppet. What do you think of Admiral Akbar, Joanna? The fishy guy who was like the rebel leader.
Oh man, when he sat down so relieved at the end of all that shit, I felt it with him. I thought he was great. I just was like, yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No strong cute feelings, but I was like, yep. He's the leader and that's what he is.
That's one of those like great like little moments that would have been easy to get wrong. Is like they actually asked him to like stand up and cheer with like the rest of the guys in the background, but the puppeteer was like, no, that's wrong, like he's going to like feel like really shaken by all the deaths that have happened, so it's just gonna be like more like a subtle sigh of relief.
When everyone cheered in general, I was like, that shit only blew up because someone kamikazed themselves into it.
Right.
So it felt weird for that. So that felt accurate. Yeah, good on that puppeteer. Hell yeah.
You know,
and another great moment like that, and everyone talks about this, but rightfully so, is when the Rancor dies, the big monster, and his keeper like comes out and cries.
Oh my
That's like so
God.
Good. That's like such
and
a
that
good
other
film.
dude has to comfort him. I was like, that's when I think I first got on board with this film. I was like, that is hilarious and amazing. What is happening? So good. He was really upset. He was so sad.
It was like his pet, his beloved dog, just got decapitated.
Literally, that the other dude had to comfort him. So good.
Sam, do you have any thoughts on any of these moments we just flew through?
Admiral Akbar, it's funny. When we watched, like he's so memorable, and I watched these movies so much when I was young, that when we were rewatching the first one, I was like, yes, Admiral Akbar commands the fleet. Like, of course he does, and was very shocked that he wasn't in it. And so I did not realize that he only appears in this one, because he just always in my head was associated with like kind of the whole trilogy.
Yeah, he's very memorable, and like the guy who does his voice is like an old time radio actor in San Francisco, like a very venerable kind of guy, and like it's just a good performance. But he almost didn't make it in this one. Like they weren't sure about giving so much dialogue to this character, which is funny because they already had Yoda.
What?
But they actually filmed all his scenes with
and they gave
the
so
white
much
guy
time
in the
to
place.
Yeah.
But they let him stay in the end, rightfully so.
Good.
Speaking of wonderful characters, shall we end by talking about which supporting or minor character is like your spirit animal in this movie?
Yes. Well, I mean, first of all, I just always will love the Ewok who saves Leia, and also the one that's in love with R2D2. But I think C-3PO would be the most accurate to my personality.
Now, what moment has really sold it for you in this movie?
Just all of his nerd now when he was in Jabba's. Like, I didn't think, oh, what do you know, oh, you said you wanted an adventure, whatever, when they're in the woods. Just all of it. Like, it's just so good. It's so gold. I'm like, thank you to whoever wrote these jokes in specifically for my enjoyment.
Specifically for you.
Like, just a little too much of a nerd, you know?
Mm-hmm. What about you,
great.
Sam?
Oh, I think that my spirit animal in this particular film is the big blobby elephant playing the keyboard.
Max Reba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
And you, Ryan?
Well, I've hinted at this, but when I saw this movie as a kid, I cried when Jabba the Hutt died, and I had
No, you did not.
I did. I absolutely did, and I
Were
have
you not
had
like, he's a bad guy?
I didn't find him that bad, apparently. I was like, you know what? Han did have like years to pay him back. He should be on his wall.
He's got people in. He's literally Dr. Evil. He's got the same setup.
They conceived of him as being the single foulest and most disgusting creature ever imaginable. He like sticks his tongue out and has smoky eyes.
He's
smoky
so
eyes.
cruel and awful.
See, now you're attracted to him as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, I never thought about him like this. He is kind of handsome. Huh.
Oh my god.
It's just like
Fascinating.
it's
Ryan,
like
we learn more about you as a child every single time, you know? See, I know you love just the unending box of surprises.
Did you have a thing? Because first it was Godzilla, now it's Jabba. Do you have a thing about like rubbery, wrinkly creature skin? Or you just like?
You know, honestly, he probably was into Jabba because of Godzilla. This totally makes sense.
honestly, it was as a child, it was totally like a sympathetic monster thing.
Yeah.
As an adult, it's because like, well, first of all, I'm gonna get this out of the way out front. Like his sexual politics are absolutely terrible. So we're setting that aside for this conversation.
Okay, I was wondering where you stood on those, but I'm glad we covered that.
But like, if I had, you know how like when you look inside yourself and you see your id, like the like animalistic, like if I didn't give a fuck about other people type of thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
For me, like it would be like Java almost exactly. He gets to eat whatever he wants. He's just huge and fat, and he sits there all day, but people still respect him and listen to what he says. He has tons of beautiful women around him all the time. He has an in-house band playing disco punk all day.
Right, and all of them are like in.
But ignore that for a sec. Assume it's like a kink
Right.
play.
8-year-old, you're 8 years old. Yeah,
And he's like surrounded by monsters. He has like a cadre of monsters he gets to play around with. It's just it's like if I was a terrible person with no morals, that would just be the life, right?
So I have a really random thing to point out. Not regarding that, because I don't even want to get into that, Ryan. But
you can't comment.
but related to Jabba's palace, so he trapdoors his first dancer, and she falls into the Rancor pit, and then his whole platform moves forward to cover up the trapdoor hole.
Yes.
So are we to assume that he only has a limited number of trapdoors in this room, and he just keeps moving forward to cover up the last one until the point where he's just going to run into the wall?
Well, and then he'll start going backwards. I had the same thought. I was like, okay, he probably.
Right, you missed the reset. You missed the boring reset where everybody drags him back to place one and they lift the trap door and cover it with
why do
sand
you
again.
even have that? Why do you even go forward in the first place?
So he can watch. They bring him forward so he can look down into the grave. It's true. That's legitimately the reason.
No, that's why.
Well, I didn't come here to be taught.
Sam's.
Like it's scary how much the Java sequence is burned into my brain. Like every sound, every image, like I know what follows because I would watch it over and over again as a kid. Like my Return of the Jedi tape looked pristine except for this half hour where it would like gradually get fuzzier and fuzzier over the years.
I'm with you on that actually. I think I was realizing that watching it that, and this is again like it's so funny. I guess it's sort of to my point that I feel like everything, the middle portion of the movie really loses me because it did when I was young too. I watched the Java stuff and was really into it, and then would always just kind of like, oh yeah, Yoda dies, and then I just didn't watch the rest of it.
When the Death Star blew up for how many times, I was like, were these people really mean to the Ewoks? Why were they so celebratory? I kind of got the vibe they were just kind of living next to each other, but that might have been incorrect.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the Ewoks...
Plot points we'll never get into, many of them in Star Wars. We'll never make it to those points.
I was going to say that you missed all the town hall meetings where the Ewoks and the Stormtroopers had to like talk out their land distribution. And I was gonna say that as a joke, and then I realized those are the scenes you see in the prequels. You just see exactly that, just town hall meeting after town hall meeting.
Okay, so I just gotta wait.
So we got to do it.
Princess Amidala.
That's a good preview. But do we have any brief closing words to bid goodbye to the original trilogy?
I thought it was fun. Glad I saw it. Glad Mark Hamill chilled the fuck out. Those are my main takeaways.
All right. I feel like you really liked all of them, even if only, if a lot of it was like the fleeting feelings. But I feel like that's a lot of what it's about.
I had a grand time. I had a lot of fun. Literally, my roommate watching it, she went, "You're having fun?" when she walked out into the living room. And I was like going, oh, what? That's ridiculous. So many times. So yes, Ryan, that would be correct.
For me, these have always been special to me and probably always will be. And I can pick them up and watch them, like every other year, and it's still really compelling, which you can't say about a lot of movies. And I've already loved on them enough, so I'll just say it's farewell to most of the Star Wars I actually like at this point.
Yeah. Ryan, Godzilla or Star Wars? You could only have one. Godzilla, right?
Yeah, it's probably still Godzilla. It's just like it's got that primal connection in my brain.
Right. Okay, Sam, your thoughts leaving the first three?
Oh, between Godzilla and Star Wars, I'd have to go with network.
Very Sam answer.
No. My thoughts leaving the three they're really fun. I really like them, and it's a fun trilogy. And I agree. I think I have netted out as of all of the Star Warses. I think there was some debate in my mind, but I think Return of the Jedi is the third best one. So I think we just watched the best ones.
Well,
and now we're going to watch the worst
fucking
three.
Can't fucking wait for Darth Maul. Fucking hot Obi-Wan.
Yeah, there's been a rebound in kind of popular opinion about the prequels.
And I hate it.
I think that people have the new films have really made people start to talk fondly about the prequels, and I have rewatched them. So anyway, but about these three, really fun. For all the arguments that Ryan and I have, I really like them, and I kind of side with the way Joanna posed it. I would say that they're really good movies. They're special movies, and if the question is, are they all-time great movies? That's where I have a harder time. But I would say they're more special than great. But boy, are they a lot of fun, and there's a lot of good stuff, and I had a really fun time returning to them, revenging to them, Revenge of the Jedi.
Thank you guys for going along on this journey with me.
Of course.
I'm happy to have seen them.
I'm happy we were here, and now you'll understand all the references everyone makes, and you'll understand how derivative all the sequels are when we watch them. But enough preview bashing. Thank you, all the audience, for listening and being here with us, and We'll be back with more Godzilla and more Jedi very soon. If you haven't yet, leave a nice comment or review wherever you like to listen. That would really help us out. That's it for this show, but we'll see you soon. In the meantime, keep spreading the word of Godzilla.